originating live on blasttheradio.com. Ask your smart speaker to play Blast the Radio. Live video available on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Email Lowell at blasttheradio.com. The number to call or text is 613-413-2217. And now, telling it like it is, here's Lowell Green.
Canada has joined, well, I don't know if we've joined any country. The Centre for Disease Control has issued a travel warning. Do not travel to Canada. Even if you are fully vaccinated, stay away from Canada. Very clearly, John, the Toronto Blue Jays are following those orders. They are not traveling to Canada.
Right.
You have the announcement from the Centre for Disease Control. I mean, we can laugh all we want, but this is really disgraceful. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Lowell. This is from the Toronto Star, issued at 9:49 a.m. today. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is still warning travelers to avoid all travel to Canada, but has updated the warning to include fully vaccinated travelers. Quote, because of the current situation in Canada, even fully vaccinated travelers may be at risk for getting and spreading COVID-19 variants and should avoid all travel to Canada. If you must travel to Canada, get fully vaccinated before travel. All travelers should wear a mask, stay 6 feet from others, avoid crowds, and wash their hands.
So, this once great nation of ours, I guess, has now joined, I don't know, Uganda or the Congo. Don't travel there. Is that where we are now? Apparently so. Do not travel to Canada. John, I'm not getting a feed in my headset here. Can we...
A feed of which now?
Myself. I can't hear myself.
There you go. How's that?
No, still can't get it. Are you hearing me okay there?
I'm hearing you fine. You can hear me, though?
I can hear you, but not me.
That's really strange, Lowell.
Okay. This news concerning the Centre for Disease Control is new to me, and I want to thank you, John, for drawing it to my attention. I don't get the Toronto Star. I am surprised that apparently no other media, local media, has picked this story up. You would think that if the Centre for Disease Control warns people around the world that Canada is too dangerous to travel to, you'd think that some of the rest of the media would pick this up. But apparently it's not important enough. Not important enough because, and news of this sort, of course, makes Trudeau look, well, not too good, right? And talking about Trudeau, what a slippery little weasel this guy is, right? Up to his old tricks. He's never responsible for anything. It's Harper's fault. It's Mulroney's fault. It's Sir John A. Macdonald's fault. It's we's fault. It's our fault. It's never Trudeau's fault, no matter what happens. Never, ever, ever Trudeau's fault, okay? Now it's the premiers, all the provincial premiers' fault that people are dying and we've got store closing and lockdowns everywhere because of the lack of vaccines. Not my fault, says Trudeau. No, it's not my fault. Despite everything we know about Trudeau's incredible screw-up in ordering vaccines, he is now claiming that the slow rollout is because the premier, well, all of the premiers, are holding vaccines in the freezers. You've heard this, John.
I have.
This is the story that's floating around by the Liberals. Oh, there's 800,000 vaccines in freezers, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
It's not our fault, says Trudeau. We're getting the vaccines out to you. It's just you're not getting into people's arms soon enough.
Doug Ford's just hanging on to those just for fun.
Ford is I talked with Ford's office this morning. He is absolutely livid because, I mean, it's an outrageous lie, a blatant, barefaced, weasel, skunk, low-down lie. Trudeau has got the nerve, the gall, the insufferable gall to help, offer help. He says, well, if you're having trouble getting these out, we're getting all of these vaccines to you, says Trudeau. If you're having trouble getting them, we'll give you a hand. You can't, you can't handle the job, so we'll give you. This is the guy who's caused all of the problems now. Try to make himself look good and be the big freaking hero, right? Oh, we'll help you. Oh, my God. Can you imagine? And believe it or not, some gullible people, including large segments of the media, increasingly dumb media, by the way, continuing to buy into this nonsense. Here is what's actually happening. And you know, when I present the facts to you, everybody's going to shake their head out there and say, well, yeah, of course. Well, what's happening makes sense. It's the only way, okay? Think about this for a moment, okay? Just think about this. Because nobody can trust what Trudeau says about the number of vaccines coming into the country, the premiers cannot take the risk of booking people to get their shots before the vaccines arrive. Oh, that kind of makes sense, doesn't it? You mean he's not booking people before they arrive? No. If in fact you could trust Trudeau, if when Trudeau says, hey, you've got 1,000 coming on Monday, if the premiers knew that this was true, then they could start booking, and come Monday morning, as soon as the vaccines arrive, they could have people getting shots. But they don't know, because half the time the vaccine doesn't show up, or it's not the same number that they were promised. So you just imagine this, okay? Trudeau says, Monday morning, we'll have 10,000 Pfizer vaccines, and we'll have them out to you in Ontario. So, you know, Ford, trusting Trudeau, books 10,000 people for Monday and Tuesday. Maybe even all Monday, okay? The vaccines are coming Monday morning, so he's going to start booking people Monday. Except the vaccines don't come Monday. Oh, so 10,000 people show up to get their shots, and there's no vaccines. That's, can you imagine? Can you imagine? Yeah, if you think the media jumps all over the premiers now, wait till that happens. Wait till they book 10,000 people or 20,000 people or 50,000 people when on the promise from Trudeau, and then the vaccines don't show up, or only half the promise show up, which has happened many times, by the way, continues to happen. Almost every time he promises, there's a delay. So how could he possibly, or anybody possibly, book people before the freaking vaccines arrive? So what happens now? Get vaccines, 10,000 vaccines come in, then you can start to book. But it's going to take a couple of days to get people in to get the shots. So while you're waiting for this, of course there's going to be vaccines in the freezers.
Basic supply and demand, right?
I mean, come on, folks, come on. I mean, come on. As Ford said yesterday when he responded to this angrily, wait a minute, he says, yeah, we've got vaccines in the freezers, but every single one is spoken for and will be in arms tomorrow. How can Trudeau or anybody, the media, possibly say that the premiers aren't doing their job? By the way, last time I checked, and this is the government's own figures, 93.7% of all vaccines that Ontario had received were already in people's arms. Now, depending on what it is, I mean, if you get a big load of vaccines in on a Friday night, at 8 o'clock at Friday night, let's say, then there's a very good chance that, but then they start to book. There's a very good chance they'll be in the freezer Saturday and Sunday before people start to book on Monday, or probably at least Saturday, right? So there's going to be. Let me ask you again. All of you who are critical and trying to blame any of the provincial premier, because this is not just Ford. Do you think that Ford, anybody, should book people in for vaccines before the vaccines arrive? Would you? Would you book people, 10,000, whatever it is? All of the logistics, you would hire all the people to administer, all the guards that are out in the parking lots, hundreds and hundreds. Well, in Ontario, you'd have to hire thousands of people to administer this, patrol it, et cetera, wouldn't you? So you hire, let's say, I don't know, 3,000, 4,000 people to come in Monday morning, because Trudeau promised that the shots are going to be there. They all show up for work. 10,000 people show up for their shots, and there are no shots. So now you got to send all of your employees home for the day or 2 days or whenever else their stuff comes in, and all of the people, you've got to cancel all of their bookings, and you have to rebook them. And this is what Trudeau is suggesting you do? I mean, folks, I ask you the question again, please. Would you book people for shots, for vaccines, before the shots arrive? Or would you wait until you've got the vaccines and then you book the people? You book the guards, everything that has to be booked to administer the shots. That to me, John, am I missing something here? Why would people think that you should book before the vaccines arrive?
This is basic supply and demand, like I said a moment ago. I mean, no business would operate. I mean, take Shields, for example. We talk all the time about no waiting around. Why? They've got the inventory. Therefore, they can sell it to you.
That's right. They know it's there.
Very basic. By the way, Lowell, on that little black box in front of you, there's a little square button that says direct monitor. Hit that. You should be able to hear yourself again.
Direct monitor. Hit that.
Yep.
I just hit it. Nothing.
Nothing.
It's okay.
All right.
It's all right. It's okay. The brain is still reasonably functioning.
All right.
But if I'm a little fuzzy today, it is a little distracting. There's no question about it. I'm not sure what's happening. I'm just not getting my own feedback here. But anyway, that's beside the point.
As long as you can hear us.
Now, John, give us have we got any emails coming in? I hope that some people respond to this. I have another. And by the way, what I am doing is when I post this information, this kind of information, I'm getting very little response on Facebook, and I don't seem to be getting a whole lot of response here. If you want me to, if you're tired of this, if you don't think that we should be talking about this anymore, let me know. We will move on. I wish that I had some good news, but I don't. I contacted the governor of Michigan's office again this morning to find out the fate of Line 5, and I'll get onto that in just a moment. John, we have some emails coming in.
Yeah, Kim moments ago says, would you cut open a transplant patient before you got a donor organ? I like that analogy.
Apparently, if you're Trudeau, you would. Yeah.
Anne says, very predictable for the feds to put the vaccine rollout delays onto the provinces. Tim says, I can think of a certain MP from Montreal that I'd like to store in a freezer. Peter says,
which one? Name names. Come on.
Yeah, Tim,
don't be a chicken.
We're scratching our heads, Tim. Who are you referring to? Peter says, between Trudeau, Ford, Kenny, they're all crap. Number one problem was Trudeau the father, which gave life to that bum. Spin it, federal liberals. When you talk to Ford's office next time, Lowell, tell them lockdowns are cruel and mental hurt too many people locked down. Can't all go curbside shopping or drive-through restaurants to get food.
Can I just respond to that?
Of course.
If people would do what they are supposed to, wear their masks, not show up in large numbers, gather, and break curfew and all of the things, then we wouldn't be in lockdown. Okay? You wouldn't. And I'll tell you something else. If we had the same percentage of vaccines as they have in Turkey, Uruguay, the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, I could go on. If we had the same number of vaccines per capita as those nations, we wouldn't have a lockdown. People are sending me pictures of the big crowd at the Blue Jays game in Texas. Over 40,000 people crammed into the stadium there. People are saying, there you go. You see, they're not wearing masks. They're all, it's total freedom in Texas. Yeah. The reason that there's freedom in Texas is they have vaccinated 57% of the population. So they have virtual herd immunity in Texas. That's why they've been able to open up. Here, we haven't. We've vaccinated once about 10% of the population. Jumping Jehoshaphat. It's wild. It's wild. Shields. This one of the things that gives me energy is when we're talking about local businesses. Somehow or other, many of these businesses, despite all the hurdles and obstacles placed in their path, continue to do business and continue to do reasonably well. One of those that's doing very well because they do business the right way is Shields. I say this again, folks. Here is a business in the Ottawa Valley since 1947, the same family. You walk in there, there is a picture of the grandfather, the father, and the son who now is running Shields. Same family, same location in Pakenham. They have a huge warehouse. Whatever the appliance you need, they will have it at Shields. If they don't, they'll loan you one absolutely free. It's a great service. Shields, folks, Shields.ca. If you're in the market for appliances of any kinds, shop local, shop Shields. Yes, John, we have some more.
Just a couple of comments about the baseball game. Tim says, book your flight to Texas now. We'll get the tickets later, I promise. Terry says, can you get me tickets to a Texas Rangers Blue Jays game? Peter says, how would Trudeau know how a business operates? He never operated a business. Most of his ministers didn't operate a business. The minister in charge of government ordering couldn't run supplies for a local coffee shop. Some of the shots being taken on your
Let me give you a little bit more information here, and the lack of response indicates to me that people are just not concerned. I don't understand why, but that's up to you. According to the Financial Post, I'm going to give it one last try, okay?
Mm-hmm.
According to the Financial Post today, Canada, I'm quoting word for word, Canada has now been passed by virtually all of Europe. Everyone from Slovakia to Estonia to Turkey can now boast higher immunization rates than Canada. And, says the Post, this is especially egregious because all European countries are administering the second shot within the 21 or 28-day period recommended by the manufacturer, unlike what we're doing in Canada. The Post continues, once again, I quote, verbatim, one reason the Canadians' slow pace on vaccination may seem particularly maddening is because most of us live within a short drive of one of the most COVID-immune countries in the world. Next month, when Canada will still be vaccinating its way through seniors and other vulnerable communities, the vaccine-rich United States is posed to begin opening up shots to any adult who wants one, including children. And once again, a quote, as pointed out by Conservative MP Michelle Rempel, over the next week period, California, Oakland, the Oakland Zoo in California, will start vaccinating large primates before most Canadian adults have received their first shot. We talked about this a couple of days ago.
Yep.
They're going to be giving gorillas in California shots, both shots, before most adults in Canada get theirs. So let me ask you this. When I post figures like this on Facebook, I get almost no reaction. Not getting much reaction today. So what do you think? Is this topic just lost interest for you? Are we ready to accept 54th place in the world? Oh yeah, the Post says we are now 54th and slipping further and further every day. We are now 54th in the world when it comes to the percentage of population vaccinated. Should I continue to discuss this or move into another topic? What do you think, folks? If you still think that this is important, let me know. Now, in that regard, I told you at the outset I was hoping for some good news. So I seem to be the only journalist out here that is concerned about Line 5, the possible shutdown. So I phoned, this is the second time now, I phoned the office of the governor of the great state of Michigan. This is the governor who says that she is going to shut down Line 5 on May 11th. That's only about a month away. So I can't get through to the governor, but I got through to her personal secretary. And I said, I identified myself, and I said, now, have you been talking to the governor? Are there any change in plans? Is she still planning on shutting down Line 5 on May 11th? Oh, yes, she said. As far as I know, I haven't heard anything to the contrary or words to that effect. Now, I said, this would have severe consequences in Ontario. She said, I think we understand that here, but we're very, very concerned. And we aren't getting any response. I said, have you not had response then from the federal government? Well, she said, originally, I think we had a text or an email, I forget which, but since then, we've heard nothing. And at that, I just sort of said, thank you very much, and hung up shaking my head. And for those of you who aren't aware, Line 5 supplies about 45% of all gasoline to the province of Ontario and Quebec, about 45% of all the natural gas supplied to Ontario and Quebec, 100% of the jet fuel supplied to Pearson Airport, and the majority of propane used in Ontario. So if they shut it down, essentially they're shutting down the province. And from what I understand, there doesn't seem to be very much, if any, reaction from the federal government. If anybody has any comments on that, love to hear from you. Lines are available. Um, I don't know. Sometimes you just wonder, like, is everybody gone to sleep in this country, or what? John, we have some texts coming in, please.
I can see piles of people logged on and watching and listening, but yeah, it is very quiet. Hey, the number is 613-413-2217. I promise you I'm very nice when I answer the phone. Randy says, I get so aggregated listening to people comment about Texas. Yes, Lowell Green, you are correct. Life in the U.S. can be a lot more normal than in Canada because they have vaccines. Having said that, the health authorities were and are still concerned about these large unmasked events being super spreader events due to new variants.
Yeah, no question.
Go ahead.
But the fact is, 33 states, maybe more now, but as of yesterday, 33 states had essentially opened themselves up. Why? Because in almost every case, 50 to 60% of the population has received the vaccine. And in many cases, 40% have received 2 doses, which means they are fully vaccinated. California, for example, almost wide open. Florida is wide open. Texas, pretty well wide open, as we see. Why? Well, because a large percentage of the population is vaccinated. And in the UK, by the way, in the UK, they are vaccinating now anybody over the age of 16 who wants the shot. Over 60% of all people in the UK now have been vaccinated. Almost 40% have had both doses. Israel, over 100% of the population. I could go on and on and on. And these countries, those of you who don't think vaccines work, but you should pay attention, because where the population is being vaccinated in large numbers, they're opening up. The death rate is way down, the infection rate is way down, and the lockdowns have ended. Simple as that. Have a look. I mean, don't read all of this crap that's coming on BitChute and other websites. Look at the facts. Look at the facts. Did you see the 40,000 people in the Texas Stadium in Arlington, Texas? Why? Because over 60% of the people are vaccinated. That's why. Gil is on the phone. Yes, go ahead, Gil, please.
Hello, it's a pleasure to speak to you.
Yes, sir.
My big problem is the dose spacing, the 4-month, and I feel that is just putting our lives at risk. And I read an article in the Financial Post a couple days ago that was quite telling, and they went on and on about that. And they mentioned about how when we get the second dose, we're way down, that can affect the variants even more, even make them more virulent or us more susceptible to them. But
was this Diane Francis column?
Yes, it was. Have you already covered that?
Oh yeah, well, I haven't covered it. No, but I'm familiar with her, and I read the column. Go ahead, though. You're making good points.
But it's amazing how many people are oblivious to that. I have some neighbors that said, "Yeah, I got my vaccine appointment. It's wonderful." And I says, "Yeah, but when's your next one?" And they normally say, "Well, it's 4 months hence." And I go, "Think about it. Now, let me tell you about what can happen in that time." Are they going to, when after 4 months go by and we're all wandering around thinking we're safe because we've got this second dose, are they going to test us to see how effective it is? Or are they just going to watch?
That's a very good question. I have asked a number of health experts here and others, okay, you're giving us the efficiency rate of, let's say, Pfizer. They say it's about 95% effective. Now, is that figure after both doses? What is the figure after the second dose is delayed for 4 months? They don't have the figure. They don't know.
I know.
It's scary.
It's
scary.
Yes. And one of the things that the WHO in that article that I read even come out and said, Canada is, the country should not be delaying the doses. They should be following the manufacturer's specs. And that's the WHO, which, by the way, if you remember the early days, our prime minister said we followed the WHO's advice.
Yeah.
Well, how come he's not following it now? And as my best friend mentioned after we both commented on this article to each other in email, he said, it's simple. Tell the prime minister basically to just read the label and follow the instructions. It's not rocket science.
Well, actually, when you talk about the science, Canada's chief scientist, this is a woman acknowledged as one of the leading infectious disease scientists in the world, appointed by Trudeau himself. She herself has said that particularly seniors and those more vulnerable should not have the 4 month spacing. They should get the recommended. So our chief scientist has already said this, and the prime minister is simply ignoring the scientific advice.
in many cases from the WHO and from his top science advisor.
That's right.
Who is
That's right.
Mona Niemer. Well, I read that when, and I haven't heard a word from her since then.
I'm not sure if she's had other statements, but she was pretty definitive with that one. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Gil,
anyway,
let me ask you this, sir. You're obviously a guy that pays close attention. There doesn't seem to be that much concern in our community. We are now 54th, as the Financial Post says this morning. Almost every European nation is now doing better than Canada. Many of these nations will soon be completely open, while we are closing more and more. Why aren't more Canadians concerned about that?
I know the answer to that. The answer, I think, is that people are beholding to the Prime Minister and this government for getting the vaccines in their arm, the millions and millions of doses that are coming, and they're getting vaccinated. And also they're looking after them when it comes to food on the table. And they feel, I think, if they let this go, it may be for naught. They might not have that situation. I think it's disgusting. And usually when I speak to people that have had the first dose and they're all happy, I bring them down. And by the way, Lowell, before I forget, you've been a big influence in my life. When I was just almost a 20-year-old, but not quite. You used to come up through the Rideau Canal when I cranked the locks at Punamali.
Oh,
and
really?
You were in a boat, I think, called the Green Line.
It was, yes.
Yes, and I remember hearing you, because I mean this affectionately. You know, I could hear you before I saw you, and I asked the lockmaster. I said, "Who's that?" He said, "Well, that's Lowell Green. He has a radio show." And so I was only interested in partying back then, so I didn't pay too much attention. But little did I know that your views and my view would be pretty much lockstep. Anyway, thanks again. And I won't take up any more time because there's probably lots of people that want to get on here.
I hope so. Actually, your views and mine, excuse me, Gil, your views and mine are only common sense, sir. That's all. Just common sense. Thank you.
I think so. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Centennial Glass. Here's another locally owned company. I've said this 100 times, and I'm going to say it 100 times more. If you can shop local, please do it, particularly if it's a company with a wonderful reputation of Centennial Glass. In business since 1967, both commercial and domestic. They have wonderful, wonderful people working for them. I know many of them personally. They've been in my house for a good several of them. Good people, good workmanship, and very good prices. CentennialGlass.ca. I have to cut out a little bit early. I'm going to get a phone call from my doctor. It's one of these. This is the modern day doctor's appointment. It's a consult by phone, but you take what you can get, right? Thank you all, folks. Please, I know that some of you are getting tired, but it's just so important. I mean, there is nothing more important right now in our daily lives than getting vaccinated. It's a matter of, in many cases, a matter of life and death. It's a matter of whether businesses stay in business. It's a matter of whether we're able to see our own family, for God's sake. That's why I think it's so important. And by the way, if they shut down Line 5 and Trudeau doesn't do anything to stop it, maybe then people will wise up that maybe this guy is really not all that he claims to be. And God knows he claims to be plenty. Thank you all, folks. I wish I could stay a little longer, but the doctor calls. We'll be back. Thank you, John.
Lowell Green, live on blasttheradio.com. Show info and links at blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green. Can't join us live? Subscribe to the Lowell Green podcast. Available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and more. Or